Hey everybody, welcome back to another week of the LFM Sprint series. This week was at Kyalami. I was able to try to squeeze this one in before the end of the year and around all the holiday festivities. And I actually decided to go back with the AMG for this race over the McLaren. Unfortunately though, it's going to be a rough end of the season because of this kerb here. But anyways, let's get into it. For qualifying on this one, I was able to set a time just below 142. This was good enough by race time to put me in P12 to start the race, so right in the middle of the pack. Also, apologize if I sound a little funny today. I've been fighting a bit of a cold. We'll see if my voice holds out. Okay, here we go. Big turn at the end of this straight. Yes, it's always nerve-wracking to go in that first big braking zone, but everyone actually keeps it really tighty here. There's a lot of cars around and little bits of contact here and there, but no big accidents to speak of. Throughout all that, we did actually manage to pass somebody getting up into P11, but we have this Ferrari on our inside looking to take that position back from us, but they're going to have a bit of a moment on the exit of this turn, so we're going to go ahead and take that back and officially stay in P11 for now. Things will mostly settle here for a little while, but as we come up into turns 10 and 11 on this first lap, we're going to give the Ferrari behind an opportunity to have a look, as I don't get a great exit on turn 10 here. They look a little bit to my inside, but they're just not able to carry quite enough speed to make the pass for now. At this point, I was actually pretty surprised with how well everything was going. I hadn't been able to play the game in over a week as I'd been traveling for the holidays and such. I did definitely have some time to practice, but I didn't really feel like I was in very good racing shape, to be honest. I still really wanted to be able to squeeze this race in, though.
There's one off on the curb of death.
Yes, I almost immediately coined the curve on Cheetah as the curb of death. I was definitely struggling with it in practice, and we see our first victim of it here in the race. Basically, if any part of your car touches that curb, you're going to go at least a little bit airborne, and it's pretty hard to bring under control. Fortunately, that silver Ferrari did a really good job of doing so and was able to rejoin the track safely. It will put us up in a P10 for a short time, but the second lap is really not going to go well for me. In turn 2, the black Ferrari is going to get up underneath and just make the pass almost immediately. And it's going to be really tight, but the Aston Martin that was behind them is going to be able to follow them through as well. So we lost 2 positions right at the beginning of that second lap, putting us back down into P12. And the misery of lap 2 won't end there either. As we come up towards turns 10 and 11, the Ferrari behind is going to get a pretty good run as we go in, and they're going to just nip underneath and stay side by side with me for a moment. Now, after already having lost a couple positions this lap, I definitely don't want to back down here. We're going to end up in a drag race as we go down towards the mine shaft, and I'm going to try to leave enough space on the inside, but we're going to make contact. It's going to push me into the grass. Unfortunately, that's going to lead to yet another position loss this lap, but looking back at it, it definitely was pretty close. I tried to leave that space there, but it's pretty narrow. It's hard to go through there as it's a really fast corner. Fortunately, it was just light contact and nothing big came of it. We won't have to be in P13 for too long though. As we come up to turn 7, there's going to be an AMG that's spun off into the gravel. We're going to get P12 back. Looking back at this one, it looks like the Porsche behind made pretty solid contact with that Mercedes. It definitely sent them right off, giving us a position, but definitely an unfortunate bit for them. So all in all, not too bad so far. We've maintained our starting position of P12, but as we come up on this lap, we're going to hit that curb of death.
Oh no.
There it is. It's so frustrating. I knew it was probably going to happen, but there we go. We caught that air on that curb. I certainly wasn't planning on it, but for a moment I really believed I could fly. It was an incredibly costly mistake, though. It throws us pretty much into dead last, the only person behind us being someone that's already a lap down. A little later, though, we are going to get a position back as a Ferrari ended up spinning off and having a bit of an awkward rejoin. We had to slam on our brakes pretty hard, but we're still going to be able to get by him as we go through sunset. So woo, we're going to get back up into P23. We're only 6 seconds behind the other cars now. I definitely feel a comeback coming on. And while I would have thought I was actually being really sarcastic there, we did actually close the gap pretty quickly. It only took a few minutes before we caught up to the other cars ahead of us. Fortunately, the guy ahead of us does listen to the blue flag and lets me and the Ferrari behind go through. Both of us finally getting to rejoin the pack we had missed so dearly. At this point though, we are going to kind of hang out behind this other Mercedes for a little while. On the 7th lap though, we're going to get a pretty good run on them coming out of turn 13, or the Crocodiles. We're approaching that curb of death again though, and my trauma is evident. I definitely back off here to try to make sure we get through that turn safely. Fortunately for me though, as we come into the final turn of this lap, the Mercedes ahead is actually going to have a moment. They're going to get pretty loose on the exit, so we're going to have a relatively easy pass up into P22. So hey, I don't know, we're halfway through the race, we've gotten a couple positions back, maybe we're not done yet, maybe we can make a bit more of a comeback. And in fact, by the end of the 7th lap, we are going to actually be able to get a few more positions. As I go way too deep into crocodiles, we're going to see a car ahead end up spinning right off. That's not going to be all though, as we come up to Cheetah and almost catch air again, there's going to be another.
Oh god, that freaking curb of death. Couple cars.
Looking back at these two, it looks like the Porsche is simply going to have a bit of a rough exit on crocodiles. They're going to catch the curve a little bit funny and it's going to throw them into the barrier. The Ferrari, however, is going to hit that curb of death. They're going to be our third victim of the day, spinning right off into the 100 board. I feel your pain, man. I feel your pain. At this point, though, it's going to put us up into P20, and we're going to be there for a while. We can see at this point we have 2 minutes left in the race. I did manage to close the gap on P19 ahead. Finally, at least getting my lap time somewhat consistently down into the 142s for the time being. Now, I know my chances of getting anything better than P19 are definitely very far-fetched. We only have maybe a couple laps left in the race at this point, so all I can do is focus on passing this Lamborghini ahead of me. It will end up being a pretty fun battle here for a minute though. We're going to have a really good run as we come up towards sunset. They're going to hold defensive, staying on the inside, so we're going to have to take the outside line. Trying to do everything I can here to hold it steady and not cause an accident, and unfortunately I do fall a little bit behind them, but it's not going to matter anyway. As we go into the next turn, they're going to brake a little bit early and we're going to be able to make the pass all the way up into P19. At least able to break that top 20 barrier before we come into the finish. Sure enough though, you guessed it, that's going to be it. We're going to finish this race in P19. Definitely not the finish to the season that I wanted, and unfortunately I didn't have the time to be able to try to do the race again. But it is what it is. We managed to race in at least one race every week since week 4 of the season, when I started actually participating in LFM races. Before we close, I want to wish everybody a happy new year. I'm really excited to see what 2024 is going to bring for us. I certainly plan on participating in more LFM races and also the off-season probably next week with the activities they have planned for us. Looks like we're going to see some multi-class racing on that, so that should be really interesting. For now though, if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like and subscribe. There will be more coming out soon. But until then, we'll see you next time.